Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to talk about the impact of STEM and technology on the future of skills and the future of jobs. And most people expect me to start with space missions to Mars or advanced manufacturing in GE factories. But to be honest, I just like to start with this guy. This is President Barack Obama. In the 1990s, early 1991, he graduated from law school. And what did he study? Torts, contracts, justice. But I think that if he went to law school 5 years from now, his curriculum would look very different. In fact, he may be studying something that we could say, for want of a better word, lawtronics. What is lawtronics? It's the ability to use software and data analytics to become a better lawyer. In 2011, Blackstone Discovery, which is a tech company, was able to process 1.1 million documents for precedence and discovery, which is common and a lot of law school associates after they graduate from law school do, for just $100,000 in a very short amount of time, maybe a couple of months. Now imagine how many paralegals it takes to do that kind of processing. They don't have to do that anymore. In fact, in August of this year, the New York Times published an article called, "Is This What Law School Is Now?" And it was really about introducing technology and data analytics to law school curriculum. In fact, they're doing that at the University of Michigan, Michigan State University, and now also in Colorado at one of the universities. And Harvard will have it very soon as well. Well, what about running cities? When we think of running cities, we think of waterworks and police systems, or even when we think of diplomacy or public policy, just war, international relations. Well, now at Carnegie Mellon University, they will also have data-based approaches, complexity theory, simulations. These are new programs that are starting up at Georgetown. You guys are going to graduate. This is what you should be studying. This is what you should be signing up for if you want to become premier in your field. What about urban studies? If you want to become something to do with city governance, cities are now becoming the hubs of capital accumulation, human talent in the world. You will be studying things like data management and curation, urban ICT, and city operations. And this is not without precedence. This is not some academics just thinking about this out of the blue. We are now going to have, and already have, something called Chief Digital Officers. This is Rachel Hoat. In 2011, Mayor Bloomberg put out an advertisement for a Chief Digital Officer. Not many people applied for the post. It didn't seem that exciting to them. But Rachel did, because at New York Times, she had actually unleashed their social media presence. And they set out to what they call the digital roadmap of NYC. This is how can the city achieve its digital potential. They thought about adding Wi-Fi to parks, having social media established links to its citizens, and to have tech internship for the minorities, to have incubators where technology startups could flourish. And in fact, by 2013, they had achieved 100%, according to them, of all the goals of this digital roadmap. Now, Chicago followed soon afterwards with Chief Digital Officer there. Boston is following. Los Angeles is following. I can guarantee you every single city will have what is known as a CDO. Let's move on. Medicine. Do you really need to memorize everything that you read in medical school now? There used to be a time, really, when I considered going to medical school, and it just seemed like I just did not have the discipline or the capacity to memorize all of the biology that one needs to become a really good doctor. Well, now maybe it's important to focus on the skill with the aid of technology than really on memorization of particular things, to really go up the value chain. This is Dr. Kading at Ohio Medical State Center. And he's been using Google Glasses to do orthopedic surgery. In fact, he just did some earlier this year. This is not exactly what he sees through his Google Glass, but this is one simulation of what doctors could see when they're doing surgery. So they can see all the stats come up right there in their Google Glass. They can get information on different kinds of reactions if they see something new. And they don't need to turn around to the nurse, but they can actually be much more effective in the moment using all their skills and human creativity to get the best result for their patient. So my point today is that when I'm going to talk to you about technology and STEM, please don't think I'm talking about only programmers and engineers. I'm talking about you. You who wants to run a TEDx, you who wants to do drama, you who wants to do film. All of these jobs involve knowing technology and data analytics. And why is that the case? Well, I say we have entered a new age altogether. We've heard of the industrial age, the information age. We are now at a new point in time, entering an age where technology and humans have to coexist in what I would call is the hybrid age. And the reason is because it's becoming ubiquitous. So we're used to technology in discrete objects like our laptops or our phones. But what if technology was everywhere? What if these sensors just covered everything in the built environment? And some of the smart cities, they are planning to essentially coat cities with sensors. They're intelligent. Don't confuse the intelligence of computers with this idealized notion of some perfect artificial intelligent humanoid. The fact that Siri can aid you in decision making, the fact that there are robots that can help you do medical surgery better, it is a form of intelligence. We are far away from perfect artificial intelligence, but let's not undervalue the decision-making support that we are getting every day from technology. Here's the key. They're interoperable. Your microwave will be able to talk to your car, which will talk to your air conditioner, which means your traffic lights can talk to your databases on your police systems. Some of these things are happening already. Some of the things will happen more and more. And later on, I'll talk about why it's so necessary that you should know this, not only because your life may become better, but because you need to know your rights in such a world as well. It's becoming social. You know, a lot of us don't think we can have relationships with machines. But there's a vacuum cleaner called Roomba. I don't know if you know about it. But essentially, it's a little spherical little object, and you put it in your room, and you go away, and it cleans your whole house. Now, it's quite common in the US. A lot of my friends have it. But there are special sites where you can buy clothes for your Roomba. And people will dress them up in all kinds of cute outfits. Sherry Turkle from MIT has said, we can't help but become vulnerable emotionally to any object that expresses some kind of emotive actions. And as computers do that, we will begin to have relationships with them in some way. And finally, most importantly, it's just getting cheaper. If you have a small business, you might be getting competing offers from Google on storage and Amazon on storage all the time. I do. I got one from Google saying, guess what? Your storage costs have been cut by 60%. Soon after, Amazon said, it's been cut by 70%. You know, I'm not special. There are automated emails that I'm getting. But it's becoming cheaper to process information, to store information, and analyze information. And so what does it mean for the future of skills? The first thing it means is that STEM is going to be foundation to all future skills. But let's go one step forward and see what I call the integration of skills. I showed it to you in law and medicine and also in urban planning. This is Hugh Hare. He runs a department at MIT Media Lab called Biomechatronics. And he himself was injured in a climbing accident and lost the lower part of both his legs, and then went on to found a new department at MIT, which combines biology with mechanical engineering and electronics. And that's where you'll see a lot more. You'll see a lot more integration of disciplines. Well, who will teach us all this? I don't know. UWC school teachers are really good, so I think maybe they'll bring you close. But you won't always see that the academia holds the answers that you need. In fact, I would say, and I would urge UWC to do this as well, is to form closer links with the industry. This ivory tower, this artificial divide, as I would call it, between industry and academia really now needs to end. So where should we look for examples? Well, I say let's go somewhere together. Let's go to a country where they don't really have many natural resources. Let's go to a country which doesn't even have a large population. Let's go to a country where the landmass is not very big. This is a country that really needs the best skills. Let's go to Singapore. Singapore is singularly impressive in its drive to improve human capital and skills. In fact, earlier this year, I worked with the Ministry of Education on something that they called Aspire. And I was on the steering committee of this big initiative, and the whole point of this was that students all over the world, and we went to Germany, we went to Switzerland, we're running after degrees. And we can't help it. Our parents told us degrees are good. Get into a good college. Really? Is that going to help you in the kind of scenario I just pointed out? Don't, think about the future of industries and get that answer from the industries and get the skills you need to have a job. For all of those of you who are thinking of becoming lawyers, know what law is going to look like in the future. And so this committee went to all the best vocational systems in the world, and then they came, improved upon it, and made a series of recommendations on how there can be closer integration between technical education, applied education, and industry. And now this has been launched under the Future Skills Program, or Skills Future Program, in Singapore. But what about those countries, and I really love the talks we had before, what about those countries that can't afford Singapore's wealth of excellent bureaucratic and efficient government, or they don't have the highly skilled teachers that Singapore does? Well, we call it the global brain. That's what it's called. And the global brain is a combination of humans and technology. The global brain is what lets this child in India, he's a little mechanic. He has no chance, and I loved what Mahbub said, he has no chance of getting to Stanford. But very soon, with programs like we saw earlier today, or with online education like this one called Audacity, where a professor at Stanford called Sebastian Chun made an intro course on robotics absolutely free. He can take that course on his mobile. And with 3D printers falling, because everything, as I told you, technology is becoming cheaper, he can actually print out the prototypes. These are your collaborators, but these are also your competitors. It's important to know, for elitists especially, that your competitor is not that student at Harvard College that you're competing with. It's him. And he could also be your partner and get you ahead of everybody else. And this is your other partner, technology. Huge servers that can crunch data, that you can build services upon, and you can actually produce new products and services. But computing, like everything in technology, is a double-edged sword. Always remember that when there's lots of data being collected, are you sure you're comfortable with that data being collected? Whatever you design with technology, make sure your ethics and values are embedded in that design. And that's where schools are very important, even more so than colleges. But then where's the value? When you go out in the marketplace, what are they going to pay you for? And according to these guys, Eric Brynjolfsson and Andrew McAfee and Michael Spence, two of these, the first two actually wrote an amazing book on the future of skills and the impact of technology on skills. They say what's going to be really scarce are ideas. Capital is becoming cheaper. Computing is becoming cheaper. Even labor is becoming cheaper. So now they say in China, the cost of labor are going up, but Vietnam is very excited. Well, they're not so high in our country, come here. You are always competing on all these things. Where it is very hard to compete with you is when you have good ideas. And that is why I am not here to talk about STEM. I'm here to talk about STEAM. And the A in there is for arts. And the way to look at technology is just a new language of expressing yourself creatively. That is the right way to think about it. And that is the only way where you would actually have a competitive advantage in the job markets of the future. So after I give this talk, many people often come to me and ask me if I should, they should only take coding classes. And no, I always say study your Hamlet, play your music, study your Dostoevsky, go to drama class. But accept the fact that technology and analytics are as important as math, writing, reading. And if you just do that, then that becomes foundational for you. I'm going to give you two examples. One is Estonia. They don't call it e-Estonia for nothing, right? Estonia is another example of a small country that wanted to really be future forward. And so they said, we are going to be one of the first that are going to start offering programming classes in kindergarten. And this is called Project Tiger. And what he's saying is, I know Java. What do you know? In Estonian. And I like this kid. You know what I like about it? He's a punk, right? You think he's going to do something. He's got an attitude. He's not like hunched over some computer with his glasses, looking very geeky. That's okay too. But remember, the right approach is all of us want to be free, want to pursue our creativity. We want to stand up. We want to have the confidence of this kid. This is the future programmer, not the illusion you have of some guy in a back office. That's gone. That's so 20th century. So please encourage your kids to study, to study programming, and kids, please do study it in some respect, conceptually understand, because every field is based on that. This is in 2009, they started something called Quest to Learn in New York. And this is the other thing when I was talking about multidisciplinary learning. It's called systems thinking. Because of the integration of disciplines, they don't tell students to study physics class and chemistry class and math class, again, the siloed classes. They say, let's build a bridge. Let's simulate something in a video game. And now see what you learn about math, and now let's see what you learn about physics. That's a better way of doing it because you're also learning the discipline of complexity and the integration of disciplines. So finally, this is a nonprofit that I run in Singapore called 21st Century Girls, and UWC is one of our academic partners. And we offer free computer classes for girls, but it's really about becoming tech stars and to really find your creative potential standing on the shoulders of technology. And that is the future of jobs, in my opinion. Thank you.